Hello everybody, my name is Nick Starwind and welcome to another episode into the mysterious world of lost and forgotten media, where we dig deep into the whys, whens and hows of why certain things are lost to the sands of time. Now, we have looked at mainly Thomas the Tank Engine for these mystery digs, but there was another cult show that also had its own fair share of oddities, especially in its first initial run on not only its original country's TV broadcasting, but also internationally. And seeing as I always go on about Japan and how privileged they are with all the things that are awesome, I thought we would look over to them this time round. So which show am I exactly going to be talking about? Well, let me give you a clue.
Who's that Pokémon? It's Pokémon!
Of course it was Pokémon. You read the title of the video. This ain't old school Philip DeFranco YouTube, you know. So for anyone who has literally been born before playing this video because you would have been swamped by Pokémon adverts for either Pokémon Go or Sword and Shield, what is Pokémon? Pokémon is one of the most successful franchises of all time, taking the world by storm since the 90s, starting out with a simple RPG turn-based battler on the Game Boy called Pokémon Red and Green in 1996 in Japan. The game was developed by Game Freak and distributed by Nintendo, where you play as a young Pokémon trainer from the town of Pallet Town, as you set off into the world and try and capture all 150 Pocket Monsters and battle various trainers and leaders of special themed gyms, in order to obtain 8 badges to go into the Pokémon League and be crowned the Pokémon Master. It was a giant success in Japan, which prompted it to be given a worldwide release under the more commonly known titles Pokémon Red and Blue, and it was crazy how successful this game was around the world. Pokémon was a giant of its day, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing something Pokémon related. Much like the Star Wars marketing of the 70s and 80s, Pokémon had its finger in every single merchandise pie you could think of, and we ate it up as children. You name it, they had a piece of merchandise for it. Books, toys, board games, plushies, toothbrushes, shampoos, clothing, trading cards. You name it, they did it, and it was amazing when I was a child. I loved Pokémon so much, I couldn't get enough of it. It was the franchise that drop-kicked Thomas out of the window for me. And all of this wouldn't be possible if it hadn't been for the game, but most importantly, the anime that pushed it down our throats every day. The Pokémon anime was just as big as the game at the time. If we put our games down, we were watching the anime. If we were at the cinema, we were seeing trailers for Pokémon the movie. Music shops had the soundtracks. It was a never-ending cycle of fun. And unlike many toy-driven shows of the 80s, it was actually good, both in its animation, its characters, and story. I don't even need to tell you who the characters are, you already know them. They're embedded in our psyche. One of them is the goddamn mascot for the franchise. You know the theme songs, you know the jukebox songs. Heck, all I need to say to you, and it will start the music, is prepare for trouble.
Okay, I'm here. Ooh.
And make it double.
To protect the world from devastation.
To unite all people within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Jesse.
James.
Team Rocket blast off at the speed of light.
Surrender now or prepare to fight.
Meow, that's right.
See? It's an addiction, and we can't avoid it no matter how hard we try, and Nintendo knew this and took full advantage of it. Ash Ketchum was the embodiment of all of us playing those games and living the dream. Yeah, he was a bit of an idiot at times and completely useless when it came to learning about Pokémon, but we didn't care. We loved the journey and the world building. It was a roller coaster ride of emotions, and even now we refer back to it in memes, remixes, and even when talking about the current series, which, by the way, none of us were watching the show when it ended, but knowing Ash finally achieved his dream, that was perfection to generations of fans of the show. 4Kids were lucky to get their hands on the show for the English dubbing rights, because it was a monster they could not control, and although the subject today relates to some of their decisions, I still thank them greatly for giving me the series as a child. But as I got older, I began to find out that there were some inconsistencies in the first saga known as the Indigo League saga, and how it affected storylines later down the line. And it turned out that a few good episodes were actually never dubbed for English audiences, and in other cases they were dubbed, released, and then instantly banned for different reasons. So, what am I talking about? Well, without gushing any more over this series, and as a former president of the Anglia-Ruskin Pokémon Society, let's once again dive into the Starwind Zone. After finding a coach and running through some buffers, we find ourselves in another dimension. A dimension of deities inside plastic balls. A world so dangerous you could be killed by an ice cream. So press B and down on the Game Boy of Life as we enter the Starwind Zone. Now for this video I will only be looking at the Indigo League saga of the series, as I said before, as I kinda stopped watching the series after the Johto League and was more passionate about the Indigo and Orange League, which, by the way, Ash won the Orange League, so it counts. So the Indigo League saga began in 1997 and finished in 1999, with 80 episodes in total, or from what the Wikipedia tells me, which were both aired in Japan and most dubbed in English during this period. Now, during the time of screening the English dubs, there were approximately a total of 6 episodes either banned or taken out of circulation after the first airing for different reasons, most of the time just preventing people from being easily offended, meaning 4Kids were ahead of its time. Since those initial airings, however, only 2 of these episodes have been completely removed and never dubbed into English, with one of those episodes also being banned in Japan as well. So clearly, there were some trial and error moments even for the Japanese audiences, considering they never seemed to ban much over there, but that will be at the end of this video. First off, we will look at the episodes that were taken out of circulation due to unforeseen circumstances beyond their control at the time. Because of how badly the 2000s kicked off with the 9/11 attacks, 2 episodes were removed temporarily because of its possible connotations towards that horrible day. Episode 19, Tentacool and Tentacruel, which was oddly enough the second episode I ever saw, was one of these episodes. The episode is about a group of Tentacool attacking the boats in a port town, before calling upon a giant Tentacruel to destroy the city, where Misty and the gang must find a way to save the city before it's sunken. Due to the scenes of the Tentacruel destroying buildings, it was deemed unsuitable for Western audiences because of the attacks and was temporarily removed until a few years later, although it was still featured in the opening titles for the show, which is a bit of an oversight on their part. This was the same reason for episode 23, The Tower of Terror, which was removed out of rotation as well. In this episode, Ash goes to find a ghost Pokemon to defeat Sabrina and arrives at the Lavender Town Tower, and in the process gets turned into a ghost by Ghastly, Haunter and Gengar. Unlike Tentacruel destroying a building, the connotations to the Twin Towers in the title and the fact that Ash pretty much dies in this episode was enough to remove it from circulation, but again returning at a later date. Now, I understand the first episode being banned because that's a bit more obvious, but seriously, I think you were being a bit overcautious with the second one, because that's like delaying the Two Towers release because of that reason, and I remember a lot of people were getting a bit nervous about that one back then, but of course they were temporary, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Unlike these 2 episodes being related to current events, one episode in particular was removed after making its first rounds due to a more awkward and controversial issue. Episode 65's Holiday Hijinks is about Ash and the gang going to the North Pole to help save Santa Claus and Christmas from Team Rocket because Jessie wants revenge for not getting a toy when she was a child. Yes, I made that very clear. Jessie is that pathetic that she would try and destroy Christmas over something as simple as that. But you'd think the reason this episode was removed was because of some reason involving that theme, or the fact I can see Jessie's knickers a lot of the time, making it the only episode where upskirts were more important for some reason. But it was actually because of the ongoing issues with the Pokemon Jynx, who are the elves for Santa Claus. Jynx's original design for Pokemon was considered very tasteless at the time, due to the fact that she was designed in a similar representation to blackface, much like Mr. Popo in Dragon Ball Z. In later installments of the Pokemon series and games, this was edited and the black skin was changed to purple to pull anyone away from comparing it to that very unpopular stereotype. But the change hadn't come soon enough, as many episodes that featured Jynx still retained the black skin colour and were removed from circulation until the problem was solved. If I'm honest, it's weird that Western promoters would remove these types of episodes because of that connotation, but at the same time leave another series completely alone when it was just as bad. But maybe that is because these two shows had different age demographics and one was a lot more prominent than the other. But saying that, some countries actually did try to edit Mr. Popo and just left Jynx alone. So, I don't know. Bit of a catch-22. Anyway, moving on. Now, the last 3 episodes I will be talking about all have different reasons for being banned, and although one of these were originally never dubbed into English so early on in the series, it was later dubbed and given a sort of silent release, but you would never know this as it's quite rare and no one still acknowledges it, even in the Netflix release. Episode 18, Beauty and the Beach, is this very episode, where the anime follows all the usual tropes of classic anime of the day and have an entire episode set around a beach where hijinks with plenty of bikini shots and questionable shots ensue. Similar to the not banned episode from Tenchi Universe, No Need for Swimsuits, it follows the gang spending the day at the beach and Misty taking part in a swimsuit competition, where, of course, Team Rocket find a way to gatecrash the situation, first as contestants, and then just as the general Team Rocket we know. Now, even though this episode was later dubbed into English, it actually wasn't 100% complete on its premiering, as one particular scene was removed due to its more adult nature, which involved James cross-dressing in a bikini swimsuit with Jessie, but to top the outfit off with a pair of fake breasts, which would be used to woo the crowd and judges in a more specific way, but does not get the chance, as just as they turn up, Gary obnoxiously jumps in and causes the scene, as usual. Luckily for 4Kids, due to this brief sequence not having much bearing on the situation, they were able to cut it all out and just jump to Team Rocket getting ready to attack the stage, with no breasts in sight. So if you want to see it all unedited, I would recommend watching the original Japanese dub, but if not, just watch the cut version, it's still a pretty good episode. Now, moving away from the episodes that were able to get an English dub, we are now down to our final 2 that never saw the light of day to Western audiences, with their own different reasons that were enough to get them completely removed from the English timeline and never given a second chance. Even now, after 20 years, these 2 episodes still remain in the original Japanese dub with no sign of any release outside of Japan. Episode 35, The Legend of Dratini, was banned for very weird reasons, and in doing so, messed with some of the continuity in later episodes that call back to this particular one, which, due to the significance of these later episodes to the series, is incredibly annoying as they couldn't be cut. The episode takes place at the safari park, where Ash sees an opportunity to catch lots of new Pokemon without having to put any of the effort into battling, only to end up catching nothing but Tauros, which is so frustrating because no one is that bad, honestly. It also explores the mythos behind Dratini, as in the game it was considered a rare Pokemon to find in the park. But, like every episode about never before seen rare Pokemon, they always end up magically appearing in front of Ash for some reason, and then never seen again. Now, the reason for the episode being banned from getting an English dub is because of the safari park owner, who is based on the actor and director Clint Eastwood of Fistful of Dollars and Dirty Harry fame, whose short and aggressive attitude is accompanied by a cult 6 shooter, and he keeps pointing in people's faces at every opportunity, which, for some reason, out of all the other references to weapons, especially with how Team Rocket have their own arsenal on their persons in every episode, this is the one that gets the episode removed from ever being dubbed in English. I know that it has connotations of promotion of gun violence, but because we know how well of a job the US do at their own gun control anyway, I don't think it would have made much of a difference, especially how in every episode, Team Rocket commits some form of terrorist attack, all for a Pikachu. So rather than promote gun violence, you're promoting the idea of carpet bombing your enemies. Genius. There is actually nothing wrong with this episode, and its removal was very unnecessary as the reason isn't justified compared to the other episodes on our list, especially with how many other shows that 4Kids were responsible for were showing scenes that were just as bad if not worse. As I said before, due to the removal of this episode, episodes such as Showdown at the Poke Corral, Hello Pumelo, and A Tent Situation became very confusing due to the sudden collection of Tauros in Ash's possession, and with no explanation whatsoever, expecting us to fill in the gaps with absolutely nothing to go on, which is incredibly frustrating. If you, like me, are incredibly bothered by this and wish to see a consistent continuity of the first saga, then I would recommend looking on Dailymotion for the sub of this episode, as I can't for the life of me find it anywhere else. But this isn't the big one. This was merely the lead up to the episode that not only got banned from being dubbed in English, but was also banned on Japanese television, thus making it the worst episode in this saga to the point that it was rejected by the very country that made it. Although this won't affect me in any way, its reasoning for being banned is due to the sensitivity of certain viewers. So, when I show the reasons, I'll do my best to prevent the same problem that led to it being banned from occurring again. Episode 38, Cyber Soldier Porygon, is a filler episode, so the fact that no one noticed its removal shows how irrelevant it was to the saga. The premise of the episode involves the gang helping Nurse Joy and the creator of the Pokeball transfer system in going inside the digital world with a Porygon, after another one had been stolen and is being used to steal Pokemon by, you guessed it, Team Rocket, who for once are doing something more intelligent than going after the one Pokemon continuously. When inside the digital world, they face off against Team Rocket while at the same time avoiding an antivirus that is after them both. During these battles, there is one scene where Pikachu thunderbolts 2 missiles, resulting in a barrage of flashing lights on screen, which, because of this one scene alone, caused over 685 Japanese viewers to be hospitalized, suffering from what the Japanese press dubbed it Pokemon shock, because of the substantial number of epileptic seizures caused by this brief scene. There was a media frenzy over this incident, resulting in Nintendo's shares to drop by 5%, added with the series taking a 4-month hiatus and the episode essentially being burned and never broadcasted again anywhere, with only a few low poly qualities still existing and being shared to this day. That is absolutely insane. 685 people, and not a single person at that production company questioned the possible risk that scene may cause. Like, statistically, someone in that office would have at least had a headache from viewing it. Because, wow. That is a big oopsie on their part, especially because the National Police Agency had to question the producers of the anime as it was that serious of an incident. Now, to show this example, I have slowed down the footage greatly, because I am seriously not wanting to repeat the same mistake that Nintendo did. But, as you can see from the choice of colours used, having these continuously flashed would 100% cause seizures and at the very least headaches for anyone watching. Even when I first viewed it, I got a headache from it, and you can imagine how many times I have to view this footage for the review. Now, don't take it from me, but if you wish to subject yourself to this onslaught of eye pain, you are able to find this episode again on Dailymotion, and specifically the clip itself on YouTube slowed down. But be warned, if you are sensitive to this material, do not view it. This is a Starwind fact, and that's no good. I think the only way this could be rectified is if they either cut away the clip itself or slowed it down to emphasize the impact of the Thunderbolt. But, like other episodes on this list, they have been pushed aside and forgotten about. Despite all these issues of essentially ruining children's lives, however, the Pokémon anime came back and continued into the present, with spin-offs and multiple movies and plenty more episodes being banned left, right and centre for all different reasons. Some obvious, and some more connected to the social ideologies of the time and place. But now with the ability to easily access content all over the world, it's a lot harder to keep these things from being suppressed. If you want to see the full list of these banned episodes and more from the series, you can easily find a list on Bulbapedia, and also many of the episodes have been uploaded to Dailymotion, but that is the only place I have been able to find them. But apart from all that, that was my review on the banned episodes from the Indigo League saga. I hope you've enjoyed this insight into the wonderful world of Pokemon, and of course, take that necessary precaution when viewing the Porygon episode, because I will not be held responsible for that. But as always, I have been Nick Starwind, you have been my audience, and remember to like, share, subscribe, stick it on a badger, attach it to a brick, mail it to a bomb because they'd like a surprise, and all those other things you can do to get people checking out my content. And also remember to spare some change, governor, by either becoming a Patreon or donating in the links below. But until then, thank you as always for tuning in, and I shall see you next time.